Welcome to Quick Moments and Passionate Pursuits of the Unfolding, where intuitively guided conversations are followed with feral faith, enthusiasm, and joy, bringing new insights, inspiration, and something else along the way.
And today that something else is bacon.
Bacon! Who doesn't like bacon? A lot of people, by the way. A lot of people don't like bacon. And I have had a shifting relationship with bacon over my lifetime. So that's shifted for me too. But we're going to talk about bacon today. Making bacon.
Making bacon.
Making bacon. And that is because we had an interesting thing happen that we have to talk about ASAP. I mean, it was just a couple of hours ago, but the implications are fresh and intriguing. So we decided to make that conversation happen. So here's what happened. We're going to set this up for you so that this topic actually makes sense, and hang with us because it's fascinating. So what happened was I was driving and I was about 2 hours and 15 minutes later than what I had expected to be to get on the road. And I'm about 15 minutes outside of town whenever a Jeep in front of me has you know how they have the tire cover on it, and I can't quite make out this, and I start to speed up to look, and the closer I get, I realize, oh, it's two pigs making some sweet love, and it says making bacon, and I'm like, that is hilarious. I've never seen that before. That is why we need this on the back of the car. I don't know. I mean, but obviously this person feels pretty passionate about this. So I take a picture and I send it to Bridget because I'm like, I've never seen anything like this. Now, I will point out, I am like Bridget has said, like, I am somewhat of a bacon, or maybe you didn't say this, maybe we just talked about this, but I'm somewhat of a bacon, in the past, a bacon connoisseur. And so for me to not have ever seen a making bacon, play on making bacon like this, I'm like, it seems odd to me that I've never seen this before, but here it is in front of me. So boom, send off the picture to Bridget. And what happens?
So I get the picture and I go, oh my God, I just saw this yesterday. This image, not a tire cover, but someone I think had posted somewhere. I don't even remember where I saw the picture. A picture of salt and pepper shakers that say making bacon with the pigs in the same positioning they are on this tire cover. And I had never seen anything like this before. It's absurd, right? It's not a common image. I've literally never seen this in my life, but it stood out to me because it was so strange and ridiculous and goofy. I didn't mention it to you. I didn't mention it to anybody. It, like, that never escaped my lips. I just laughed at it and thought it was funny and rolled on with my day. Now, here's what is blowing my mind. And I'm gonna jump in here because I've got to say these things and then I want you to riff. We just started talking about magnetism in the sense that this goes beyond what we've said before, beyond the web. Magnetism, to me, in my mind, is the concept that everything that is held together. So we can go all the way from our universe, our solar system, the planets and the sun being held together in this rhythm, all the way down to the micro level of all these tiny particles being held together in order to create larger things like this bottle or myself, a being. All of that is held together by something. And the question is, what is that something? And what I've been reading and what we've been discussing is that something, that magnetism, is the universal force of love. And now I want to say this is a broad concept of love. This is not like just romantic love or filial love. This is the idea that love is the opposite of separation. Love is the force that attracts, coalesces, and brings together. And separation and hate or negativity would be the forces that push away, divide, and separate. So when I think magnetism, I think drawn together, held together, bonded. And that image to me was something that sparked a moment of joy. I thought it was funny. It made me feel this elevated vibration of happiness and joy. And that, I think, is the spark of this love, this magnetism that rippled out and then touched you.
Okay, and I will say yes, but is that that's not the case. Like, so hate, divisiveness actually is an attractor with other people who have hate and divisiveness. So it's not a repellent if somebody is, the only way it's a repellent is if you're in an environment of love. So those are opposites. Those are going to repel or push each other away. They're going to be an angry person in the room with a person who feels all warm and fuzzy, and they aren't feeling it and they are not connected. They are feeling like opposite, pushing away, difficulty coming closer together. So the reason why I believe that that was attracted was in part because, to your point, is because we both found it, we had the same reaction. We had the same, like, huh, that's hilarious, right? But also a little bit of incredulous, like I was like kind of incredulous, like, wow, we're doing this. We're like, yours, it was online and it was presumably a picture, but this person had doubled down and felt so passionate about this that they were driving with it. Like it was like a thing. Like they wanted to tell every single person that they met in the car, making bacon, and this is what it looks like, right? So there's a bit of like, okay, that's interesting, right? But for me, the thing that really got me with this is we talk often about the web, and we talk about how themes that are happening in my life will, if I take the time to ask all of my closest people, hey, have you seen a fox lately, or have you seen whatever it is that's caught my attention, 100% of the time my friends, family, closest people have had an interesting, like, noticing of that, whereas they could have just as easily had that in their environment and never noticed it, but they did notice it. But it wasn't necessarily an actual fox, or it was a picture of a fox, or it was a stuffed animal, or whatever whatever it is. They had their own way of it being displayed. So we talk about this. What was absolutely incredible to me was the fact that this is so rare. This is not like a dog. Like even a fox is not normal or usual, which is why I'm always curious about it. It's not like it's a normal object you routinely see. But this, if you were to ask a statistician or somebody who knows what the probability of you and I seeing this is, in the absence of understanding the web or how universal concepts work, the average person would say, oh, very, very low. That's like almost like one in several million type of, like, I mean, we're talking my entire lifetime and I've never seen that. So the likelihood, given the number of touch points to me, is really like slim, considering the same for you. So knowing this is a not common object. So what is that? Like this is the web, but this isn't like me having a desire for other people to see a fox or to see that object in the web. This isn't me saying, ooh, I hope other people are going to see this or that's going to happen. This is like, I've never thought about this. It comes up. I send it to you and get the urge to send it to you. You noticed the same thing, which then to me says there's something else at play here. A universal truth that is even more detailed than that. It's like not even the things that you put your attention towards, but something that's noticed that is. So when you say, I am from yesterday, I am a person who now has seen this object, it's certain that I am that new you, because we have a connection, a tight connection. That content did not come into my awareness per se, but it came into my life circumstances. I was 2 hours more than I expected to be leaving. I went that route. There were 3 routes. 2 of them went another direction. I went this direction. I took that route and I noticed that tire cover and I chose to send it to you. That's a number of things. And it wasn't like it didn't come through my phone. It came from an object outside me. So it's not like somebody could say that, hey, well, she saw it on her phone. And so conspiracy theory, your phone is aware what her phone is seeing. And so it sent you an object. This is an entirely separate from my phone object that came into my reality, my physical presence, that was a topic and object so obscure, it had to be the universe providing that theme. So what are the implications to this? I know that's a lot, but holy crap.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact, first of all, let me just say this to our higher selves in the universe. I appreciate the fact that we get the opportunity to learn and to understand and to assimilate these concepts in such a playful way, because they really truly have such a powerful implication, such a powerful reality within our world, that we get the opportunity to play with them first. But then once we've had that opportunity, then we're living by them. Like they're like encoded within the DNA of our experience here. They are laws of the universe. And so I feel like because we're consciously choosing to evolve and to grow regularly, that we get presented with these things that are part of that new paradigm for us, but it's a gentle presentation. And so this just shows us what does this show us? Actually, I want you to answer that, because you had this really brilliant realization around this.
Well, I don't know that it's brilliant, but it was something that like gets me so darn excited, because it's like when you really think about this, when you think about, I was just talking about this to somebody last week, the whole I am, right? And when you think about that concept of the I am and how that's a deeply interwoven connectedness that you cannot be separate from the universe, universal substance, everything that is around us. Like we are connected. If that spore on that tree moves a particular way, everything around it moves in a particular way to make space, and I am moved. Every single thing in this universe moves for each other and is coordinated in some way. And it's so microscopic that we don't realize the we are, right? That connection of, because of something else happening, that it directly impacts me. And the closer someone is to me, the more I allow people into my like life. It doesn't matter if they're close or far. I'm currently in Kentucky. You're in New York. That happened to you yesterday in New York, and I was in North Carolina. So when we say, well, I'm having a bad day, so I'm just going to keep to myself. If we think that it doesn't affect other people, it does. Other people are having their own experience. To what extent? Maybe we do save them from directly having certain interactions with us. But it's still, there is a disconnected sense within us. It had to be something so outrageous that we were like, WTF, what is happening? It literally, it had to be something crazy. But the implications are it has something, seeing that somebody that's close to you recognizes it, and then it has to become part of my reality, whether I notice it and put it together or not. Usually it's going to be inconsequential things. But what that means is that it's not just inconsequential things, because those are things that are assured and they're known, which is why they're so powerful. But it's also happening with things that are known and sure when it comes to emotions, our belief system, what we think is happening in a relationship, in the world. Those known to us, meaning our truth, deeply ingrained, is being impacted by the people that are around us, that are closest to us. Definitely. In all kinds of ways that we will not necessarily recognize as being a part of our experience.
Yeah.
What does this bring up for you?
Yeah. So what you just said made me think, what I believe, like my part of my theory around this, and I'm just shaping my theory because this just happened. But part of my theory around this is that our evolution, our collective evolution, is headed in a direction where there's instantaneous absorption of our thoughts and an instantaneous creation based on that. So what I'm saying is, I believe that we are collectively evolving in a direction where not only will our most intimate, deepest held thoughts and beliefs immediately become available to our collective, to all of us instantaneously, but also that we know we are creators, and that creative power stems from the vibration, the energy of our thoughts. We create with thought. We don't necessarily need to speak to create, although that in these bodies that we're currently residing in is a very powerful thing. But we're headed in a direction where our thoughts and our beliefs, when we hold them with intention, immediately manifest and create out without and outside of us and our collective as well. So those are the two things that I've taken from this experience.
Holy cow, that's brilliant. I love that so much. Like, seriously, that is like, I get what you're saying. Like, because if it's in my subconscious, but it's really the collective consciousness. If it's in the collective consciousness, and because it's the collective close to me, I have access to it, then it's because it's known in you now, then my subconscious, or really unconscious, has access to that theme. And because you experienced it, I experienced it, but it was my physical reality having to react in a number of micro ways, like tugging at me to take my time this morning. Like, the number of decisions that I had to make that were instantaneous, that I just did to make that come about. And I have to believe that it's also wired in our commitment and desire to serve this.
Which is an extension of our love.
Yes, absolutely. That this is what you and I live for. Like, this is part of our mission, is to share universal unfolding as our, of course, whatever we find out, let's just be clear, It's a thing. It already exists. But we expect, here's a big concept. We expect NASA, we expect physicists, scientists, people in a certain field to tell us that this is a thing. And even if they did or have, it's not accessible to us. It's only accessible to the people in that field who understand. And what they don't understand is this isn't about space travel. This is a concept that is, if it's about the bigger macro world, it's also about the smaller micro world. And so what they don't understand is how this universal concept impacts our individual life. And then with this, oh my God, it reminds me of, do you know how an object is in one location and it is visible and then it disappears and goes to another location and people don't realize, how did it get to that other location? We don't know how it got to that other location. We're still trying to figure out how it got that to that other location. What if what you're describing, it's the collective consciousness? So now that object isn't only in relationship to the original observer or the witness, it now is accessible to the collective conscious, which is going to be the consciousness of those closest to the witnesser. So now I want to know the object that disappeared and showed up somewhere else. What was the relationship to where it showed up to know why it may have gotten there?
Okay, so literally, I love that you just said this because I have 2 notes written down, and what I have written down kind of dovetails off of what you just said, but I wrote it before you said it. So
I saw you write it before I said it.
so this is what I have written down. Why does this work? Okay, first of all, understanding the how of something to the common person is not a bridge, it's a barrier. So when a physicist or a scientist goes to set out to prove that what we're saying is real and how it operates, the explanation of how it operates is going to be a barrier. It's going to be a wall to me understanding the concept. I need to experience the concept. Experiential learning is the bridge. The how with all of this scientific jargon is a barrier to me. So I don't, as much as it's neat and tidy to have a how, I don't want the how. I just want to physically experience it. When I do, then I get it and it's cemented in my reality. The thing that I'm talking about is the fact that time and space, as we experience them, are a construct. They're an illusion. They are a necessary part of the illusion of I am having this human life and time is running in a linear fashion and I can move throughout space with this vehicle of a body that I've chosen to be in for this experience. They're necessary for the experience, but they're not real. And time and space, because they are a construct and an illusory part of this experience, must respond to the creative and organizing force of the universe, which is love. So again, I go back to, if I have this experience of who I am manifesting in my world, and I see it and I notice it and I observe it, the observer effect, this is real, I observe it, then it gets drawn into this collective, this consciousness. And although you may see it tomorrow in this construct of time that we have, and spatially it's very far removed from where I experienced this concept for me, because time and space are constructs and they have to respond to this collective force of creation, then of course that thing would show up almost instantaneously for you, because you're part of my close-knit collective, because we are deeply bonded by this force of creation. So someone may say, well, it doesn't make sense that you saw this thing and then all of these other trails of events, but we're looking at it in a linear fashion when we say it that way. What we have to notice is that I can have an experience, and that experience can ripple throughout time and space in such a way that time and space respond like a fluid or like plasma to that experience. It's not linear, it's not sequential. So perhaps the ripple of me seeing that thing went all the way back and to the person when they purchased the tire cover for their Jeep, just so you could have that experience. And even though you said, oh, well, it was just kind of happenstance that I chose this route at this time, late, different route, your choices were also affected by that ripple. Who knows? And we don't know what the initial cause of that ripple was in the first place. Maybe it had nothing to do with making bacon. Who knows? But what we do know is there is evidence of that ripple that both you and I experienced, and the person who bought that, and the person who posted that picture. And that's what we're seeing. It's like seeing footprints in the snow and going, I think these are all connected. I don't know what created them or why, but I'm seeing evidence that says this is all connected. And what we're trying to discover is, what is that connection? That's what we're working around.
Right. Yeah. And I appreciate, like, what you've said is really seeping into me right now. Like, I'm just like, the implications, like, I can't get past the implications, like the what is it to its fullest extent. I know that is probably beyond, the scope is beyond my comprehension, because it's like the number of things that have to go into, like you just described, like person purchasing it, and the number of things is just mind-boggling, right?
Mhm.
Like what the purpose is of any physical object that even is created, right? Because something so silly as that is actually the impetus for a really impactful awareness.
Yeah.
It, to me, I start getting into the interrelationship. I start getting into, like, it starts having me go, well, there's no coincidences, like, at all. Like, I get that really deeply with this. Like, every single thing is making space and responding to every other thing. Like, I'm on the
Yes.
highway right now. There's a car behind me. That car is getting ready to have to brake because it's only 10 feet from my bumper. It's going to have to go into the left or the right lane, and it's like, all of this is happening very intricately, but it's all interconnected instantaneously. Like, it's not happenstance, all of this that's happening. We're all relating to each other, but we wouldn't call it a relationship. But it is substance and space, and although the space is an illusion of, like, emptiness, it's still substances and gravity included in this. The way that all of these properties and all of this experience is happening is related to absolute laws of physics that is working regardless if we understand it or not. It's mind-boggling to me. Like, literally right now, I'm like, the number of thoughts, when we say that our mind is racing, hell yeah, our mind's racing, because we actually have access to thousands, millions of conversations at any given time. So when we're like, gosh, my mind just won't shut down. Yeah, because it's not just your thoughts, it's all the other thoughts that are, like, that you have access to, that you don't realize that you have access to. Which is why meditation and some of these tools and techniques, it's not just about calming ourselves. It's not just about taming our own nervous system. It's not just about singling our thoughts. It's about really turning down the volume of the collective thoughts and the collective experiences enough to know what it is that you're thinking. It's almost
Mhm.
like meditation to me is like allowing us to hear ourselves versus the universal chatter. It's like we're in a universal chatter stream, and meditation says,
Mhm.
hey, you want to turn down that volume so you can actually hear yourself? Okay. Isn't it interesting once we intentionally breathe and get into ourselves that we become singularly focused,
Mm.
right? It's like because we can't see the current of the interconnectedness, we presume it's not there. If we actually understood how interconnected we were, we would not be absolved from responding to other people anymore.
Oh man.
Like right now, we can just be in denial. We can allow ourselves to be remiss for other people's life circumstances. But when we get the collective consciousness and we actually say, oh my God, this is a thing, you got to step up. You got to respond. You got to help feed the hungry. You got to help somebody else who's hurting. You got to hold them. You got to like be responsive. Changes everything.
It does, because we finally understand and we will finally grasp the idea that our self extends to all in our collective. That is our self.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I just had this thought before you started saying this of the body healing a wound. Right? So if all of the parts of our body, we see our body and we go, this is a body. It is a one collective thing working in unison for my purpose. It's a body. It's not a finger and then a hair and then a blood vessel. When the body is injured, every resource within the body rushes, and it's an intelligently guided process. It's thought in action. But whose thought is it? It's the creator's thought. It's love in action. It's universe doing what universe does. Everything within that body rushes to heal that part. And
Yeah.
so if we truly understood that we are self, big capital S, collective self, then every resource that we can muster would rush to heal the parts of us that are wounded.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. This makes so much sense of why I think when you start to have some understanding of this, it makes sense why some people, even without full understanding, will rush towards people in need, and then other people don't. And it does make some sense of some of that, right? Like this recognition of interconnectedness that goes beyond it goes beyond compassion of other. It's compassion of other and self, which is why we actually say this is an interesting direction that we're going, but it makes sense why we talk about self-love being so important. Because when, like Gandhi said, be the change, right? Be the change you wish to see in the world. And it's the most accessible and impactful way to help others is to help yourself and show self-love. Because if you can show that self-love, then that's love. And it's love that other people can feel and grab onto and impact them in a positive way, but it also inspires self-love, right? Their own self-love. So it's like it's love, and it goes through this field, and especially the people closest to you. This is like, as a parent, you know, we say put the oxygen mask on yourself, and when we say that, I feel like a lot of parents are like, oh yeah, put my oxygen mask on myself, you know, and we want to believe it, but yet at the same time, it's like, these are kids, of course we're gonna put. It's like, no, 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 no. Like, what if that, if our depletion depletes the people closest to us? So putting oxygen masks on little beings that are just going to need the oxygen mask again and again and again, because the connection in its universe, it isn't from a place of like what you would want them to have, right? It makes sense. It's much deeper. The oxygen mask is much bigger than what we realize, because that's how they will sustain that.
This is fascinating where this one image took us today.
It really is. It really is. And I feel like we've just scraped the very surface of this topic. Like, I feel like this is going to be permeating my mind for a bit. I'm also, just for listeners, I'm also taking in right now a couple of other, like 3 other books and sources of information that that are rubbing up against this and contributing. One of which is a book called You Are the Universe, and Deepak Chopra is one of the 2 authors of that book. Sorry for the other person that I'm not putting my finger on right now, but yeah, so there's a lot of content that's shaping these understandings that's really interesting. So
I'll do the thing I do, and we will compile those books and link to them so that people can see what exactly we're marinating in right now. That is also part of this.
that's great. And I will, on my website, I have at www.bethware.com, I have free resources across the top. And in those free resources, as I read books, I continue to add those to those so that folks can see, you know, just the different types of topics that are the different types of sources that are shaping what I'm bringing into the world.
Yeah.
I could riff on this a lot more, so you feel free to wrap it up however you want, but I feel like I could talk about this for hours. So
all right, so here's how I'm going to wrap it up. This morning, when I went to my closet to get dressed, I wasn't thinking, oh, we're going to record a podcast episode. I want to put on some clothes that are appropriate for recording a podcast episode. But what I thought was, I looked at this shirt and I thought, man, this is my favorite place to eat. It is my absolute favorite food. Levantine Syrian Cafe and Cuisine. It's local to me. It's just outside Rochester. And it is my absolute favorite place to take people to go get food. Local family-owned business, love them. So I'm picking out the shirt and I'm putting it on and I'm going, man, I just love this food. I really hope that by putting this shirt on today, I draw some of this to me. This was before you sent me the picture of the Jeep with the cover. And I'm thinking in my head, I hope that by loving this and putting this on, that I draw it into my sphere. And then we have this conversation about what we apparently draw in, which is really an extension of who we are in our collective being. But I just thought that was interesting because
you were talking about
relevant.
that concept. Yeah,
yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I will just add that in addition to what we saw with the Making Bacon this morning, I packed a light jacket because the places that I'm going shouldn't be chilly, but the place where I was this morning it was 60 degrees, so it was a little chill. And I was like, well, I'm just going to pack a light jacket just in case. So it was a soft cotton, like organic cotton kind of jacket that has, it's black and it's got white strings up here that are flat, a certain look to it. And I just love this. And then you send me, not even 30 minutes to 45 minutes later, you send me pants that you asked me, hey, do you like these pants? And I'm thinking to myself, I just this morning thought to myself, I love this jacket. And I, right before I put it in my suitcase, I thought, I would really like to have some pants like this. And I just let it go. I just was like, oh, I'd really like to have some pants like this. And then an hour later, I'm finding out that I am going to have some pants like that. It's like, it is just like a momentary knowing, yep, at some point that's going to happen. And then boom, it's done.
Yep. And it's not something so important about this, and we're going to have to riff on this in another conversation entirely, but the vibration that went into all of those thoughts was not a vibration of I want or of lack. It was an I love and of enjoyment, even for something that we apparently don't currently have. Go ahead.
Okay, we can't end on this. I've got to riff on this for just a second. And we're not at an hour. People can hang. So okay, yes, love is a part of it. It's like this like I love that jacket. That jacket is so soft and it's so like the material is decadent. I absolutely love how it feels on. And but it beyond the love, it's there's a quality of I amness. Like we talked about that, like the jacket's already mine. Like it's not separate from me. It already is with me. So it is part of me. You already have something like that. There's a quality, and I don't want it. I don't want it. I didn't have this desire in the moment of, oh, it's separate from me. I'm missing it. I wish I had it. I didn't even think, I wish I had it. It was a different feeling. It was, oh, I'd like to have that, but in a not I want way, in a way of, yeah, that's going to happen, but without a desire to make it happen in a certain time frame. It was just a, yeah, like there's no concern about it. It just is. There is a quality like that can generalize, applied to everything we want in our life. Me having a book that's published, me having this business that I love and am so excited to do. Everything in our life that we're moving towards, if there's an element of just it is what it is right now, and in an assuredness that it will happen at some point, it's almost like that state is where we give it enough space to become. But when we want it and we feel separate from it, it can't come to us. It can't come to us. The desire alone is a low vibration. I think desire is like 75 on the Hertz frequency scale. It's such a low vibration. It's worse than anger. It's lower than anger. And so it's like, once we understand that wanting, craving, desiring is not innately in and of itself bad, but it's ineffective when it comes to reaching for something.
I just had a breakthrough. I just finally got this. Okay, we talk about this all the time. We listen to things that say this all the time. But what I constantly hear, and that little thought in the back of the head that constantly says, how the heck does this work? How the heck do I take something that I desire and feel a love for it that will attract it versus a separation from it that will push it away. And I just had this holy crap, oh my God, this is how. If we think again of that body metaphor, the body, if the body were to think intelligently, I can't, I don't have, of course it wouldn't heal the wound that it's experiencing. Because that's how you end up with autoimmune diseases, where the body attacks itself because there is a belief within the body at some cellular level that it can't or it doesn't have or that it's separate from. But when we see a body working perfectly to heal itself and to rush to fill the space where it's needed, because it of course has an unlimited supply of white blood cells or whatever it is that's needed, it creates them. Of course it has an unlimited supply. We create the thing that we love and desire because we have an unlimited supply. It's just energy. And energy can't be created or destroyed. It just changes forms. So, of course, the universe can't help but rush towards that thing that we're expressing love for and about. It has to rush towards that. That is literally the force that coalesces and brings together and creates. And we just said that magnetism, that love, creates things. It's gravity. It literally is gravity. It is the force that creates a body in which a soul can take up space within the womb of a parent. It is love. Science can't explain to this day why certain cells differentiate the way they do, why a stem cell becomes a brain cell and why another stem cell becomes a toenail cell. Because it is intelligence, it's love in action, it's the creative force. So if that is what is actually happening here, then any sense of lack or separation is going to push things away, and any sense of love is going to pull things together. And so when we immediately start giving thanks and expressing our love for that which we already have and that which we are, then it coalesces and becomes a part of our reality.
Okay, let's do part 2 some other time.
Yes.
Because there's so much to this. I love what you just said. I would just like to end simply with, this is a case in point for gratitude journals. If you have any practice that you could start today that you don't do, that let's say you say, I only have 20 seconds in my life, then use that 20 seconds to say thank you for anything that you have in your life right now that you deeply love, that you're grateful for. Thank you, thank you, thank you. One of the best prayers, that most impactful things that we could do is give appreciation and love for what we have.
Any thought held within your head is a prayer. That comes from the book that I'm reading right now, so I will link to that book.
Amen.
Okay, amen, and thank you to Melissa Moss for our cover art. You can learn more about her at melissamossart.com. And thank you to Cloud Cult. We will see you in less than a week in Herndon, Virginia.
We will see you Saturday in Herndon, Virginia.
Thank you to Cloud Cult for our intro and outro music from their song, There's So Much Energy in Us. Learn more about them at cloudcult.com. And to our listeners, thank you. We're so incredibly grateful. We love you. Thank you for being here with us and for continuing on this unfolding with us. Until next time, friends, peace, love, and light.